Hey printers, thanks for joining us today. We are printing posters today instead of apparel. You may have seen me printing in the spare room on TikTok, maybe Facebook, Instagram. Definitely join us on all those social media sites. Super dope with all of our cool equipment, but the walls are bare and it's a cold white void in there. So we've got some sick artwork to put up on the walls. So join us in printing some posters today. So this is a 3-color full bleed poster printed on 120-pound white paper. And originally I wanted to print on black paper, but just for ease, I didn't really want to deal with any of the opacity issues or color changes that can come with that. Printing on white paper is just easier. So for the art creation, I added a 0.5 expansion on the dark green and also a full point expansion on the black so that it traps everything in. There's a little bit of play there in case we don't get it 100% perfect. Also, we added some cut lines on the outside so that when we cut those off, it is going to be a full bleed poster and all that white border will be gone. So I've burned the images on two 30 mesh screens for all 3 colors. We have 2 green and 1 black. We're using this awesome vacuum platen today, which we have on our website, screenprinting.com. I love printing on this with posters, but there are more than one ways to do things. So if you have a tabletop and clamps, awesome, you can do that too. But I'm stoked to be printing on this vacuum platen. We've got it hooked up to a pedal here so we can control the vacuum, and it works great. When you're screen printing posters, you want to use a heavier duty durometer squeegee. So normally apparel printing, 70 durometer is great, maybe a triple durometer, but today we're going to be using the 80 durometer. It's nice and stiff and stronger. If you use a softer durometer squeegee, it can almost maybe push a little bit too much ink in there and cause it to bleed a bit. So that's why we're going to use a nice hard 80 durometer today. So when printing the multicolor prints, we want to make sure that the ink is dry in between each color. Ideally, you're going to be waiting 24 hours in between. But since we wanted to move a little bit faster today, we added warp drive. And in between each color, we're putting it into the drying rack with a good fan on it. And it's only taking about 20 minutes for each color to dry. And then we can move on to the next color. So let's talk about print order. Generally speaking, you're going to want to print lighter to darkest. Today we are starting out with the light green first, moving on to the dark green, and then the black. So we're printing the Green Galaxy Light Speed Green, the Terraform Dark Green, and the black. The Terraform, we wanted a little bit darker, so we added just a little bit of our black into it, darkened it up. So while you're printing, there's a few things that you want to watch out for. I always keep in mind and think about, what is the angle of my squeegee? How hard am I pushing? The placement of the paper. Just make sure that everything is really consistent in between each color and each poster so that everything stays together and works well. One key part of this process is making sure that you have a good stopgap so that your paper is in the same exact position every time in between each color that you're printing. I use tape, but there's multiple things you can use. Something super handy is the ink cards. You can cut these up, make sure that you're using the really sharp edges. You just don't want anything too tall or too thick that's going to mess up your off contact. So I'm really happy with how these turned out. And let's talk about a few tips I've got for you. Number 1, definitely print extras, because if you're anything like me, you're probably going to have a few mistakes. And especially when you're printing multicolor and re-registering everything every time, you want your paper in the right spot, you're probably going to have some mistakes. So print extras. Number 2, use a vacuum platen if you've got it. If you're printing posters a lot, this is a major upgrade. Third thing, use a larger screen if you've got it. It will improve your quality of life. If you have more space to work with, you're not messing your ink all up and making a mess of it. So more space, the better. And lastly, just make sure that your registration is all dialed in before you jump into production. You don't want to be messing with anything once you're actually in print mode. So I think that's it. We're super stoked with how these turned out. We're going to let them dry for 24 hours, and then we'll put them in the frame and get them up on the wall. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on all the things, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, what else? All the things. Follow us and join us there. Comment below. Let me know what you think of these posters that are printed today. I'd love to hear if you have any tips of your own. Maybe have some questions, concerns, anything. Hit us up. We're here to help, and we'll see you in the next video.